Dr. Guy with Project Wellness Company, and what I want to talk about today are headaches. A lot of us sitting here watching this video right now, if you sit at home and you suffer from headaches, there's a lot of different kinds. And kind of the first step would be to figure out what's causing those headaches. There's a big difference between, whether it's a migraine, whether it's an occipital headache, whether it's a temporal headache, whether it's one that starts at the base of the neck here, wraps up and around to the front. There's a lot of different kinds of headaches and migraines, and identifying which kind you have is kind of the first step to the problem solving of figuring out what's causing that issue. Now, in our office, the first thing that I think of when we're looking at a headache is what's happening in your occiput C1. And when we talk about occiput C1, we're talking about the base of the skull right back here and C1 right here. Okay, your top bone in your neck is a bone that rotates from left to right. And the majority of our rotation in our spine from when we're looking over our shoulders is going to come out of that bone. The other thing you're going to notice is on the front side here, okay, we have what's called your vertebral artery. And if you look at where the vertebral artery goes, it actually goes inside of those bones until we get almost to the base of the neck down here. And so a lot of times what happens is when this bone rotates, that puts pressure on that artery, and that's going to cause a throbbing type pain. Now, if we look at where the nerves are going to, these nerves at the base of the spine here, okay, they start here, they wrap up and around to the front, up and through here. And so if we're getting a headache that we feel tightness, maybe even some pain back here, and it wraps up and around to the front, more than likely there's an issue with C1, C2. Okay, so this region right up and through here, if that bone is rotated, in my office we call that a subluxation, okay, which is a misaligned bone. Ultimately that's going to put pressure on the nerves that are controlling that area, which is where we'll get that referring pain coming from the back up and around to the front here. And so identifying first and foremost, is there an issue? Is this bone slid left to right? Is there a rotation in that bone? And is that what's causing those headaches? The other thing too, which is a huge contributor, is actually that loss of a curve. Okay, so instead of having the curve here, that head starts to pull forward. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause all these muscles that are on the back side of the spine here that attach to the top of your shoulders, that's going to cause them to stretch and pull. And so constantly these bones are being pulled on and pulled out of alignment, putting pressure ultimately on those nerves, causing that referral of that pain where it's coming from here, wrapped up and around to the front. It might be one side, it might be both sides, or it could be the other side. But when we're looking at that structurally, there's a lot of different things to think about when we're looking at headaches. But first and foremost for me, that's the area that I want to look at to see if we have an issue with alignment that could be potentially causing those headaches. And if we can identify what that cause is, if there's pressure put on those nerves, that's going to ultimately allow us to be able to go in and adjust the bones, get the pressure off the nerves, structurally change the spine in order to allow there to be the correct alignment, taking pressure off those nerves, which is ultimately going to result in a loss of symptoms, a no need for, Advil, ibuprofen, etc., anything like that, because we're ultimately looking at what's causing it versus just addressing those symptoms. And so if you're dealing with headaches and you're tired of dealing with them, if we think about, if you have a headache more than 12 times in any given year, that's considered a medical condition. And so all too often we get used to dealing with them when there's a simple solution in order to get rid of those headaches. And ultimately trying to figure out the cause of it so we can correct it for the long term is really where the key is at getting rid of those headaches.